It's the View from the West Instant Reax podcast for week number 4. We got WRMJ in the house, Ty Taylor, Jim Taylor along for the ride. Of course, with Mitch Stormer and Brian Stocking. And Stock, you're here tonight with Ty Taylor, and he's got some bragging rights on you. Ty, take it away.
Too bad, Stocking. The Golden Eagles beat the Rams, so that's Ty Taylor's alma mater taking down Brian Stocking's alma mater. I'm so happy. I'm bursting with blue and gold pride tonight.
Well, you can't turn the ball over 3 times in the first quarter
Right.
and live against Mercer County.
Hey,
I've been to
Riverdale
Merco twice for on the with Riverdale, and we won when I was a freshman. We didn't win when I was a junior.
All right, so Stock, we got to know, like, what's your crowning achievement at Riverdale High School, academically, athletically?
Graduating.
No, I was twice on the All Track 8 Academic Bowl squad.
Awesome.
There we go.
First team as a senior.
Let's back up though. So track 8 was what? Give me the schools. Track 8.
That would be Riverdale, Prophetstown, Morrison, Erie, Newman, Fulton, Amboy, Savannah.
That's like the Ivy League.
Now, I'll tell you this, the trip to Amboy, when I was a senior, our bus got a flat, so we had to get off the interstate. We took every back road, dirt road, roads that last were traversed by Lincoln during the Black Hawk War to get to Amboy.
You weren't on the
slept on the bus. I could not sleep because it was all the way. It was bumpy all the way.
No, you weren't on the Lincoln Trail. You were in the track. You were in the Three Rivers. Come on.
Man.
All right.
That day we were in the land of nowhere.
Mitch, how are you tonight, sir?
Good. It was a busy night. It's midnight where I'm at, but it seemed like the night went pretty quick. But boy, there was some great action that we'll get into here. And I can't help myself but look forward to week 5, which we'll also talk about. But I think there's going to be some division crowns decided next week.
Oh, I love it. I love it. All right. Well, in honor of WRMJ in the house, should we start with the Three Rivers here? Mitch, give us the scores, and we'll react instantly.
All right, let's run through the Rock Road. We'll go through all 6 games here. Starting in the Rock, Newman 54-21 winners over Orion. Rock Ridge gets the big win, 41-0 over Erie Prophetstown. As mentioned, Merco gets the 36-7 win over Riverdale. Slipping over to the Mississippi, Princeton wins the rivalry game over Kewanee, 44-15. Monmouth Roseville looks good, 49-10 over Mendota. And Sherrard gets their first win of the year, 20-14 over Spring Valley.
Well, I'll start with the Taylors. Who wants to go first, Jim or Ty? Talk about where you're at, what you saw here.
Go ahead, Dad. Talk about the Rockets.
Michael O'Brien scored 8 touchdowns against the Riverdale Rams in 1990. What was that?
7?
Was it 1997?
Yeah, that was our last.
So one of my favorite stories is like that's when you could play sophomore or JV games the same night as varsity games, right? And they're like, so Michael O'Brien scored like 4 touchdowns in the JV game, and then he played in the varsity game and scored, I think, 4. And Nick Bull can probably correct me on this. But I mean, like over the years, it's like, well, Michael O'Brien he scored 15 touchdowns the one night against Riverdale. Was it like 8 touchdowns all that night? Wasn't it something like that?
We lost 47-0, so it was a lot.
I believe it was 8 touchdowns. And I'm glad you brought up Nick Bull, because Nick Bull told me about that story, the legend of Michael O'Brien, years ago. But Nick Bull was also the man who introduced me to WRMJ radio when I moved to the area. So there you go.
All right. Awesome. So I was thinking about, Brian Stocking, can we get this show off the rails tonight? Right off the bat.
I think it already is.
So
there are no rules.
I was going to ask you, Brian Stocking. So you look at the Bill McCarty, who was the coach at Alito, right?
Mm-hmm.
In the 1990s. So do you know like the head coaches he's created, like his lineage? Go ahead, start naming them.
Well, Cully Walter.
What? No, Cully Walter came from from Colfax Ridgeview. No,
I know where you're going with
He
this.
followed
Can
it.
I just get to where we're getting
no,
there?
I want
know
to
where you're going
because
with
he's
this.
supposed to be the
Yeah.
big expert. I want to checkmate him tonight. Is what I want to do. So Bill McCarty. So tonight at Mercer County, right? He had a couple of kids that played for him. One of
Guy
them,
Derricks.
Guy Derricks, and who
There
else?
you go.
And Tanner wasn't Tanner Matlack.
No.
Oh,
This guy
Lucas.
played for
Fred
him at
Lucas.
Riverdale.
Fred Lucas Fred Lucas, former United coach assistant on the Mercer County staff, played for him at Northwestern. Sciota.
All right. So
And
here we
then
go.
Jeremy-
Hold on.
Wait. Okay. go
Okay.
ahead.
I was just gonna say nobody cares about this at all.
Yes, they do.
So let's talk about how Rock Ridge beat Erie Provincetown 41-0.
Jeremy Adolphson played
Right.
for Bill McCarty
Right.
at Alito. You knew that, right, Stocking?
Yes.
You knew that?
Yes, I did. I spent some time at his house back
Okay.
in the day.
Back
All
in
right,
the day.
And then Bill McCarty coached Joe Blimboom, right? Who was coached where and won a state title at what school?
That I do not know.
Deer Creek
Yeah,
Mackinac.
Deer Creek again, nobody cares
Yes.
about any of this stuff.
No, he's supposed to be the stat guy.
I know, but yeah, no.
So-
I'm
no,
not
wait a
glorified
minute.
Delphi.
So then it gets back to Riverdale. So I'm going to circle back to Riverdale here on the story. So Logan Lee, when Deer Creek Mackinac won the state title, they played that year. Orion played Deer Creek Mackinac in the first round. The week before, in week 9, Logan Lee got in a scrum with a kid from Riverdale in week 9, right?
Mhm.
And he wasn't the instigator.
But he was involved.
Yeah. So the instigator didn't get the penalty, but Logan Lee got the penalty and got ejected. So in that week 10 game, he didn't get a play in the playoff game against the Deer Creek Mackinac Chiefs because of the Riverdale Rams. What do you think about that?
Hey, we just start a lot of fights. It doesn't mean we win them. I don't know. I don't know why you would pick a fight with Logan Lee.
Right.
I mean,
This sounds like people sitting around a barber shop on a Saturday morning.
Yeah, right.
We're gonna get to Saturday morning in about 54 minutes. But anyway,
Yep.
you want Rock Ridge,
Yeah,
Erie
that's-
Provincetown.
I do.
We wasted 10 minutes talking about nothing, but yeah, go ahead.
By the way, you would appreciate this, Stocking. So I went to so we do the picks, right, with
Yes.
View from the West.
Right.
And Guy Derrick said he's team Jim Taylor because week 1 of the season, I picked Riverdale to win over Mendota. And you guys picked Mendota
Right.
to win over
The rest of us were all wrong. Right.
That's right. So he said, I'm team Jim Taylor.
Okay.
anyway.
So let's
All
talk
right.
about Rock Ridge and Erie
So,
Provincetown finally.
The big
Yeah.
story in Erie Provincetown was the Rock Ridge defense holding them to 6 first downs, but 2 key players for Erie Provincetown didn't play tonight, and that's Dimitri Larson and Connor Keegan. I think Connor Keegan was a concussion protocol issue, didn't have enough practices, and then Dimitri Larson had an ankle issue from last week. And so you look at last week's game in terms of margin with Riverdale and Rock Ridge closer in terms of final score. But tonight it was a 14-0 game at halftime. I think, a closer game than what 41-0 indicated. It was 14-0 at halftime. Rock Ridge got the mercy rule going, I think, with like 4 minutes left to play in regulation. Last week, they were rolling continuous clock against Riverdale with 6 minutes left to play in the third quarter. So a bit deceiving. And let's face it, I think they accounted for 300 yards total offense through 2 weeks coming in, Larson and Keegan. So that was a big difference in that game tonight. But Rock Ridge defense allowing just 6 first downs.
On a personal note, I'm disappointed. I was bummed out because last week I caught the second half of Erie Provincetown and Newman. And I think Larson was in on a few snaps, but I was really excited to see him play. And he wasn't out there very much. And then tonight he wasn't on the field. So I'm just bummed that I don't get to see, because seen and heard about how good he is. So I wanted to see him play tonight. But on the Rockridge side, Jim, you're watching him week in and week out. What do you see? What do you see in this team offensively, defensively? I mean, just kind of give me your assessment, because they're doing a lot of things well right now. And I think it's a team that could do some damage in 2A.
Well, I think their defense is really stout. And even though they've lost Ryan Lower, and I know they've had the Tanner Dye kid step in and they've brought in Levi Junis, they're really stout defensively against the run. And then, I've been doing it since 1990. I hate saying that all the time. I've been doing it since 1990, whatever. But watching a kid, and I asked Coach Graves on this tonight, and you can listen to his answer tomorrow morning on WRMJ Sports Line at 9 o'clock.
Right.
Absolutely.
But how a sophomore quarterback, how he basically, the patience he has in terms of not just tucking the ball and running. And I'm assuming you saw that a little bit last week. I think you were at most of the game last week, where he really refuses to run the ball across the line of scrimmage and really looks at finding his receivers. And he did that again tonight. He's just a really, really good player for just a sophomore, being able to do that.
Yeah. What impresses me about him is that, last year, like you said, what impresses me is what you mentioned. But, what's interesting is I think on Sportsline a couple weeks ago, Coach Graves mentioned, like, maybe last year we restricted him too much, and we were trying to protect a freshman quarterback from, maybe from himself, or we don't know, but now it's like, now we're kind of letting him do what he does, and you're really seeing him kind of progress. And that's been impressive. That's fun to watch.
And he's been able to extend plays. And you saw that tonight with a couple of plays he made. That game was only a 14-0 game at halftime.
Yeah.
Just like last week against Newman, it was a 14-7 game with Erie, Prophetstown, and Newman. Now, do I think Larson and Connor Keegan make up 41 points? No, I don't. But still, that's a different dynamic if those two players are playing.
Yep.
We're going to see how good Rockridge's offense is next week, because they have to go on the road to Newman, and Newman's defense is always difficult. And Colin Schweigen had 3 touchdowns tonight. We will get a true barometer reading on how good Rockridge can be when we see them against Newman. We've already seen them against Princeton. We'll see them against Newman. And this really sets up for the Three Rivers small school division title, because I talked to the Newman AD before the season began, and he told me the Rock and Mississippi aren't the actual names. It's the small school, large school.
Oh, we have breaking news here on the Instant Reax.
And the one other thing is, Erie Prophetstown plays Merco next week. Merco's 3-1, Erie P-Town's 2-2. If Erie P-Town loses that game, they have no margin for error, because the final game of the season is against Princeton, who is all world right now. And if they lose that game, they cannot lose one of those next 3 after Merco. So they have to come out of the Merco game, if at best with a win, but at worst not having any more injuries.
All right, Ty, what'd you see in Mercer County tonight?
So Mercer County beat Riverdale tonight by a final score of 36-7. And I think, to me, like, at one point Riverdale made it 14-7 late in the first, but I really don't think Mercer County ever was threatened. Like, to me, it never felt like Riverdale was had much of a chance to beat him, just because, the way that Riverdale plays, that they want to run the ball, and they were held to just 2 yards rushing total for the entire game. So Mercer County defensively did a great job stopping the run. They kind of just loaded the box and dared Riverdale to throw. Riverdale's only scoring play was on a 73-yard touchdown pass late in the first quarter. But Mercer County just kind of got production up and down from, their key guys, like quarterback John Baldwin. I think he threw for 189 yards, 13 of 21, 2 touchdowns. Mason Gray had another great night, 22 carries for 130 yards and 2 scores. And then Dalen Blazer, their top receiver, had a really good night tonight. He caught 7 passes for 121 yards and 2 touchdowns. The 2 touchdowns he caught were basically same play. It was just kind of like a go route down the sideline on the weak side. One of them was for 72 yards. The other one was for 29. So they did a really good job controlling the line of scrimmage. And that's one thing with Mercer County. You know, they're very strong up front. Like, I think they're better up front than I kind of thought they'd be coming into the season. And, you know, for them, they've really turned things around because the first week of the season, you know, they hung around with Monmouth Roseville for a half. And then, you know, the second half was like an unmitigated disaster. You know, it was just everything was going wrong. And then in week 2, they started off slow against Sherrard and got behind 14-0. And I was kind of thinking at that point, I'm like, boy, this could be a long year. But they, you know, credit them. They were able to kind of dig themselves out of that hole in week 2. And then they've kind of been rolling since. You know, they ended up beating Sherrard by 20, and then they beat Orion by 15 last week in a game that wasn't as close as 15, I don't think. And then tonight they controlled the game basically from start to finish against Riverdale. So, you know, it felt like after week 1 they had to win these 3 games against Sherrard, Orion, and Riverdale in that order, and they did it. So they're 3-1. And like Stocking said, I think next week's game with Erie Prophetstown for Mercer County is basically the same thing, because you know, you look at what they have. Now they, on the flip side, they have Mendota waiting in week 9, which should be a win for them. But between the Erie Provincetown game and the Mendota game, it goes Newman, Rock Ridge, Princeton, which will be 3 very difficult games to get. So the Erie Provincetown game for Mercer County, another one that feels paramount for them to get before heading into that really tough stretch with, you know, Newman, Rock Ridge, and Princeton in straight weeks.
Yeah, their schedule is certainly, you know, backloaded with those
ramping up, right?
With those 3 in a row. I mean, those are 3 really tough games. Maybe the 3 best teams in the 3 rivers right there, right back to back to back. So that'll be tough.
Can I say something here on this or not?
Yes, absolutely.
So I think when you really look at Mercer County, the one thing that to me looks pretty impressive for them, you know, after they got rolled by Monmouth Roseville, you know, they go to week 2, they're down 14-0 in that game, right?
Right.
Yep.
And now all of a sudden they've hauled off 3 in a row, 3-1. It's interesting. When I was talking to Coach Graves today about kind of getting you know, it was weird going into week 4 trying to get a feel of what the league is about this year, because I really thought last week I told him was kind of a wild card game in the track between Riverdale and Rock Ridge. And then you looked at kind of tonight, the Erie Prophetstown Rock Ridge game was kind of a wild card. And I thought Mercer County and Riverdale was the wild card game too, also in the league. And still trying to get a feel of, you know, and I think Rock Ridge right now is the team to beat on that side of the league. But I think, you know, Sterling Newman Central Catholic's going to say, wait a minute, you know, playing next week at Roscoe Eads Stadium. And I don't know. I just think the last 2 weeks have been intriguing. And I think if Mercer County fans are looking at like the final, for me, what is really weird, the final scores the last 2 weeks are really deceiving. If you look at the just margin of Rock Ridge, Riverdale, and you say, oh, that's kind of a close game. Well, you know, because it was a mercy rule game early in the 3rd, but they scored some late points to make it 43-27 or whatever it was.
48-27.
Yeah. And then tonight you look 41-0 and you think, man, Rock Ridge really rolled them. Well, that game really hung in doubt. It was a 14-0 game at halftime, and Rock Ridge scored the final 27 points of the 4th quarter. Mind you, and Erie Prophetstown was playing without 2 of their top kids. So it's just weird how kind of last week's score was a little bit deceiving. I think tonight's score is a little bit deceiving because I think Erie Prophetstown's pretty stout defensively. They're really physical up front. And if you get and you've seen Dimitri Larson play, I mean, to have a big play threat, especially like on kick returns and punt returns and stuff like that, not having him tonight and not having the Connor Keegan kid tonight, you know, like I said, it's not a 41-point difference, but it changes the complexion of that game. And I can't wait till, I told Coach Graves this tonight, I can't wait till next Friday. That's a huge, I mean, that's going to be a fun game to watch. Rock Ridge and Sterling Newman Central Catholic. Roscoe Eads Stadium.
Maybe I'm back on the Rock Ridge. Maybe I'm following Rock Ridge again next week. That's an intriguing matchup. Mitch, we got a couple undefeated teams to talk about here still left. We had Princeton, right? They got the win, and Monmouth Roseville got the win tonight. What do you know about those games? What'd you see?
Let me say one thing.
Okay.
I will never refer to this as big school, small school. I will never do that.
Me neither, Mitch. Me neither, Mitch. Me neither.
Stocking just brought up track 8. It's been Big Rivers. It's been Three Rivers. It's been not going to do it. Floating back to Newman real quick. Evan Bushman had 4 touchdown passes tonight. Been really impressed with Newman's offense the last 3 weeks.
That's a good. He had 4 touchdown passes.
Mm-hmm. It was a pretty balanced attack from what it looked like. I mean, last week we talked about how they had 12 ball carriers, and now they're throwing the ball. So, these past 3 weeks, 2 of their opponents have been Orion and was it Mendota. So I do think I think Stocking said it that next week for Rock Ridge is kind of a litmus test. I think it's a litmus test for Newman too, because they had that week 1 loss to Princeton, and maybe they haven't had the toughest competition since then. They've looked good in those 3 weeks, but again, that may be part of the easier part of their schedule. But yeah, moving to Mississippi, you had Princeton, big win over Kewanee. This game was close. It was a 1-score game in the 3rd quarter before Princeton pulled away. They had a scoop and score. Casey Etheridge had 190 yards and 4 touchdowns on the night. So this was the 126th meeting between these 2 teams, and they play for that glorious trophy.
Love it.
It sticks on the Princeton bus for the evening. And yeah, as you mentioned, Monmouth Roseville, 49-10 winners. They play next week, Princeton and Monmouth Roseville. That's going to be, I think it's going to be a really, really fun game to watch. It wasn't close last year. I think they played twice last year. If I'm remembering correctly, they played in the regular season in the first round, maybe the second
round.
Yeah, first round.
But either way, we've talked about Monmouth Roseville being the top contender in this division to Princeton, and so I don't foresee any crazy things happening after week 5 here in the Mississippi. So I do think that this game will determine that division.
We did have a bit of breaking news here tonight, though, about Monmouth Roseville. Jeremy Adolphson texted me a little while ago saying Titans 2 for 2 passing tonight. So
there we go.
They threw the ball.
They threw the ball. Yeah.
Hate to hear it.
Can I ask something about Monmouth Roseville?
Yeah.
So let's go around the panel here. So everybody are you yay or nay on the scrimmage kick?
I love it.
I think it's a cool loophole, and hey, whatever you got to do.
I bet you Brian Stocking was looking at his rule book and saying, I don't know if you can do that.
Do they still do it? Are they doing it this year too?
Yeah, they did it. They only had to, I guess, punt once against Mercer County, and I saw them, but yeah, they did it. They just kicked it over towards the sideline. It was a good kick. It was inside the 10, I think.
But they basically line up like a field goal,
Yep.
and it acts as a punt. Yeah.
Do you like it, Greg, or not?
I don't have a problem with it. I mean, if it's within the rules of high school football, sure. I don't know that there's enough punting specialists in high school, especially when you get to the smaller levels. So if you can do it, and if you figured out that that's legal, hey, go for it.
What is Brian Stocking? He's silent on this. Why is he not saying anything about it?
Well, I wasn't interrupting. I'm old school. I think you should line up and kick it, but if it's legal, then there's nothing wrong with it then.
Brian Stocking's a traditionalist. That's what we just learned.
But what I do,
he hates the DH in Major League Baseball too, probably.
I hate the DH, but
You do hate the DH?
yeah.
Did you
get rid of it.
So can I ask you a question about that? So you remember like in the 1980s?
Okay, let me stop. That doesn't matter.
I don't think we have time to talk about the designated hitter.
No. I'm muting his mic. Okay, let's do.
Ian Morris of Princeton tonight
thank
kicked a school record for longest field goal in school history of 45 yards.
Did he break his own record? Because didn't he just?
Yeah.
Yeah, he broke it tonight, 45 yards.
I think Dan Pearson had the video of that because, of course, Dan Pearson is
Awesome.
amazing. So
Yeah.
yeah. All right. What else do we need to know on the track? We wrapped it up. Yes.
Casey Etheridge had 4 field goals.
Casey
I mean,
Etheridge.
4 touchdowns. Casey Etheridge had 4 touchdowns for Princeton tonight.
Okay.
I said that. I already said that.
Ty, what do you got?
I just was going to say real quick, Sherrard beat Hall tonight. I know Mitch went over the score, but big win for the Tigers. Listen, the first 3 weeks of their season was very challenging. Obviously, Rock Ridge, a very good team, Mercer County, good too. And then Princeton, when you play 2 of your first 3 against Rock Ridge and Princeton, that's not a very kind schedule. And they've been dealing with a lot of injuries, and they were able to kind of gut one out on homecoming tonight. So I'm happy for them. And they've got, I think a favorable matchup with Mendota next week, where they can get to 2 and 3. You can kind of reset yourself and try to get things rolling towards maybe trying to steal your way to 5 wins. But happy for Coach Johnson and the Tigers. Nice win for them tonight. It's tough for them coming off of, getting beat 60-0 last week by Princeton. And for Hall, they were probably feeling really good after a win last week. So to be able to kind of, with momentum working against you, to be able to get that win, a nice win for them tonight.
Good to see Carter Brown back in the highlights tonight. That was awesome. So
2 touchdown runs for him.
Yeah, that's great.
Can I say something about Coach Johnston or not?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What decade is it from?
Yeah, right. Yeah. Did you hear what Mitch said?
What he
He
said?
said, what decade is it from?
2024. I wanted at the end of this, I want to ask Stocking about something about baseball, though, about the DH.
Wait
But
till the end.
anyway,
Yeah.
so
That'll be at 3 a.m. when we get to that.
Yeah.
But the one thing that I've been doing this, I hate to say this.
Yeah.
but
1990. Just get to what you're
So,
going to say. Yeah.
But the one thing I appreciate about Coach Johnston from a preparation standpoint, he always sends and mind you, they have, in terms of winning and losing, they've struggled, right? But he always sends religiously the information early in the week.
Yep.
Every week. And that's why I will always root for Sherrard and hope they win, because he is paying his dues with that. And let's face it, I mean, he won all kinds of games at Anawan Weathersfield. And that's a guy I just really hope they get on a run at Sherrard, because he deserves it, because he's such a good coach and such a good dude, man. So anyway, that's why from a station standpoint at WRMJ, I love the relationship, because he can be whatever the record is, and I don't care what it is. Every week he's sending that information, and I think that tells you about a person. I think that's really awesome.
All right, should we get into the Western Big Six, and then we'll kind of go back down through the Lincoln Land? And
can I say one more thing about the track?
Yeah.
Jose, so I told Coach Graves tonight, because it's really weird. So week 5, and so our post-game interview tonight, I said, are you going to practice? Because I think, you're week 5, you've played on natural grass the whole season, and you have a big game in week 5, and you're playing on artificial turf against Newman Central Catholic. And I said, you think you'll get a practice? Are you going to try and find a practice this week playing on artificial turf, getting a practice? And he said, I haven't thought about that, but you bring up a good point. We probably should. And so we'll wait and see if they do that, and their relationship with UT, with Coach Whiteman there and Coach Say with the basketball staff. But anyway, that's a factor in that game.
Yeah.
Next week.
Absolutely.
And normally in the playoffs, it's easier to access a site to practice at. Not everybody's playing. Well, everybody's playing in the middle of the season.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah, that'd be interesting to see, because that is, certainly something to follow. All right, Mitch, what do we got? Big Six scores.
All right. Game of the week that we had going into this one, Quincy gets the big win, 43-21 over Moline. We'll get to stats and numbers in a minute. United Township gets the 34-16 win over Geneseo. Big win for the Panthers in that one. Sterling wins 40-3 over Galesburg, and Bradley Bourbonnais beats Rock Island 49-14.
So I was walking the sidelines at Browning Field tonight, and man, I know it sounds, I don't know what Quincy is very impressive. I think that's what everybody says, but man, to see it up close and in person, Braden Little, Dreas Rice, Rico Clay, Tykel Hammers, Caden Johansson, go through the list. These guys are, they're well coached, they're athletic, they know the game plan, and they execute so well. It's impressive. I saw it firsthand tonight. Mitch, do you have some of the numbers from Braden
I
Little?
do. Yeah, I do. I have these are courtesy of Don O'Brien, and I listened to this game as well. So shout out to Grant Dahlstrom and QC Sportsnet. I followed this game tonight. Little Don O'Brien had him at 20 of 29 for a school record 437 yards, 6 touchdowns. Tycho Hammers had 5 receptions for 149 and a TD. Dreas Rice, 5 receptions for 91 yards and a touchdown. Also had 75 yards rushing. Clay had 89 yards receiving and 3 touchdowns. Johansson had 96 yards on 2 receptions and a touchdown. So, yeah, they scored on their second play from scrimmage. It really was every time Moline had some momentum.
Yep.
They either had a self-inflicted wound by a penalty or something, or Quincy just responded right away. No more evident than when Quincy scored with 1 second left before halftime, which was exactly when you got there. So you can tell us that in a minute. But
Yep.
it was just that kind of game that Quincy was never going to keep Moline in it. It's just what they do. They've been, next week would mark 2 years that they've been undefeated in the regular season. It's super impressive week in and week out.
So, yes, you said I got there second quarter and I saw a Quincy touchdown, and then Moline gets the ball back. They march downfield. They get a big break, big run, score a touchdown. They're within 2 scores with 44 seconds left in the first half. And now most teams that I've covered over the years, most high school teams with 44 seconds back in your own territory, you think, what's their bread and butter? What's their strong suit? They're going to run the ball. They're going to be conservative. You already have the lead. Take it into the half. Come back out in the second half. But you knew that Quincy wasn't going to do that, right?
They're the greatest show on turf.
But what's so impressive about what they did was, with Braden Little and the weapons he has around him, so methodical, right? Like marching downfield and making the throws they need to make and getting the ball, working the sideline, getting players out of bounds. And they threw a pass, right to the sideline. The kid steps out with 1 second left, like you mentioned. And then that's when you see the athleticism take over, and Little rolls out, throws a ball up in the air. Rico Clay goes up and gets it in the back of the end zone. Just incredible. Really amazing to see. Hey, tell Dazzo to stop in. Hey, is he leaving, Stock?
He'll join in later.
Oh,
Oh
okay.
God, I can't wait.
He'll
for
be
that.
safe. Don't worry about it.
All right. I didn't want him to think I was ignoring him. So anyway, no, just that whole drive in 44 seconds sums up what Quincy does so well, right? And defensively, they played well tonight too. They had some penalty issues a little bit, but I think overall they really made a statement tonight that they're the clear-cut best team in the Big Six.
Quincy won
third
their
quarter.
11th straight Western Big Six game and their 16th consecutive regular season game. They are unbelievable. And this is only their 4th 4-0 start since 1970. They are the greatest show on turf right now. Little, Rice, all those players. And, we saw it a little bit last year, and now we're seeing it in full blossom this year.
Full blossom, everybody. Ty, what do
How
you
many
And
times?
I saw on Twitter that Rick Little won his 100th game
Awesome.
as Quincy head coach.
I did see that. Go, Ty.
I was just gonna ask, how many times is Stocking gonna refer to Quincy as the greatest show on turf? We're already at 2.
Well, if you say it enough times, I know that Jim's going to start talking about the Rams. So we better
I'll move back to St. Louis. Yeah.
we better just keep plugging away here.
No Hawks.
Right.
No. So I did a Rick Little was coaching West Hancock, and
Yes.
I did an Orion West Hancock game in Warsaw, Illinois. I bet you
Yeah.
guys did that.
Well,
So
I've been down to
it's
West Hancock
interesting-
once.
So it's interesting. This is what I always think about the Western Big Six, and this is why I like the Quincy story, is because always, their tradition, their rich history is basketball. We know that with what they've accomplished, but to look at what their football program used to be.
Yep.
You know, I went to Alleman in the 1980s, and you knew in the Western Big Six, that was an automatic win every week. You knew that you were going to beat Quincy. And to see how they have turned it around in the elite program, like Stocking just said, of how many games they've won in the Western Big Six is so impressive. Because I look at a lot of the programs that are, because it's so hard to turn losing around, especially in a sport like football. And I think the Quincy story is so neat, how they've become such an elite program in the Western Big Six. That Big Six, I just think it's awesome. So where's Alleman going to wind up? They going to be in the Western Big Six or what?
Oh boy, that's another podcast. We don't have time for that.
Right.
Where's Stocking think they're going to be at?
Nope, he's muted. I'm not letting him chime in on that.
In the off season, we can get together and talk about that.
Yes, we can.
My big takeaway in the Western Big Six, like obviously Quincy, great win for them, but UT, that's a huge win for them tonight. So I think they're back to 2-2 now. So
yeah,
we talked this week on the show that we were super impressed with UT. They had their two losses were both really close to Sterling, which came down to the wire, and LaSalle Peru in week 1, which came down to the wire. So they've really played well this year. Yeah, this is the first time they've beat Geneseo in 3 years. I imagine if you stretch it out a little further, they haven't had that many wins against Geneseo. But yeah, they've been playing really well, and good to see the Coach Welch get that team rolling. Big game against Quincy next week.
Yeah, we just felt like UT was so close, right? And for them to get over that hump this week when they were trailing early, right? And they were able to come back. I think that's it's a nice sign for them. It's a nice win. Stock, what do you got here?
UT was down 16-7 and scored the final 28 points of the game.
There you go.
In the fourth quarter, they had a 10-minute, 90-yard drive where they controlled the ball, finally pushed it across, scored against Geneseo. And that's something you don't see teams do against the Great Machine. And I think that goes to show all the work that Nick Welch has put into that program. Because when Nick Welch took over at UT, no one ever thought UT would have a 10-minute, 90-yard, we're going to take this game from you drive. And he did, and they did.
Yeah.
And they're 2-2. They're a couple bad special. I shouldn't say bad special teams, but they're 2 missed plays on special teams up from being 4-0. And you look at UT's schedule. They play. They can. I think that UT can get to 5-4 at least and get in the playoffs.
Yeah.
Because
Stock, did you think that Moline was going to beat Quincy tonight? You called that. I thought you called that early in the season.
No, not a
sure?
chance. I said in the preseason
that
if anyone would have a chance, it would be Moline, but I didn't think anyone would.
Okay.
Can I ask a question about the Big Six?
Yeah.
So what is your? I'm just curious. What's your favorite venue?
Oh man.
I say Soul Bowl is the best place in the Big Six. As a kid that grew up in the Big Six, and that's why I hope they can get it rolling. Because I'm just going to throw in a Jim Sanders reference. Is that all right?
Yeah, it's over my head.
Okay, he coached in the 70s and 80s, and then his son was Marty Sanders, who coached where?
Come on, Stock.
Riverdale.
Westburg!
Oh, okay.
Westburg.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. Well,
I got a better Jim Sanders story.
Okay,
Jim Sanders, after he got done at UT coaching, was a basketball referee. And he would always do a Riverdale game or two as a referee.
He got Stocking for pointers. Okay, go ahead. Sorry.
Mitch, do you have a Jim Sanders story while we're on it?
I just have so many. I can't narrow it down to one.
Okay.
Don't want to take up too much time on the pod.
Right.
No. Well, that's the respect to Jim Sanders. That's awesome.
Speaking
you
of,
never answered. What is your best venue? What
is it's not a traditional Western Big Six venue, but I would say Sterling.
That's where I was gonna pivot to and to talk about that game. But yeah, yes. I've always liked Sterling forever.
And a hidden gem.
Browning Field.
Okay. A hidden gem for me is Galesburg. I think it's
It is a
underrated.
You're right.
I think it's underrated because they're not winning consistently out there. But when they're on the upswing, when they're playing well, that place, that new venue is really nice, and they fill it, and it's really good. All right, Mitch, tell us about Sterling.
So Sterling wins 40-3 over Galesburg. Drew Nettleton 8 of 14, 151 yards and 5 touchdowns. According to Drake Landsman, Sterling's defense only allowed 6 first downs in this game.
Wow, this is a big.
So Sterling, they remain unbeaten in Western Big Six.
Yeah, that's a big win for Sterling, getting 2 in a row here. And Galesburg's reeling. They got some talent, but they're reeling a little bit here. And but for Sterling, I think there's been some questions as the weeks go on. They've answered a couple times. They got big matchups down the way, but this is a nice start for them in the Big Six.
Sterling is 15-2 on the road in the Western Big Six.
There it is. That's the info we want. Nice job, Brian.
Really? 15-2? Wow.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
There you go.
Great stats.
All right.
Talking.
All right. Have we capped off the Big Six? We got everything in there?
Bradley
I think so.
Burnabé.
Bradley Bourbonnais beat Rock Island, which
Yeah, it was like 28. It was 28-7 at halftime, and
yeah.
it was. They're 0-4.
I will say, Mitch, we'll talk more about it on the Tuesday show. This Rock Island team still has talent, and I still think they can win a few games here and, surprise some people. But it's just, I think every opponent they've played so far this season has been ranked. I mean, it's just,
yeah,
they've played a really tough non-conference schedule, and then they played Quincy, and then they played a non-conference game against Bradley Bourbonnais again here, and it's tough. So yeah,
and it's homecoming next week against Moline.
I do think that'll be an interesting game. I think Moline's a great overall. I think they're the second best team overall on paper, but we'll see what happens.
One thing I didn't mention is that Moline's starting quarterback Eli Taylor went out in this game against Quincy, so Drew Phelps stepped in. So if they have backup quarterback next week, yeah, it could be an opening for Rock Island.
Yep. All right, are we getting into the LLC, the big schools and the small schools?
Yep. Let's go through the large schools here. Farmington continues to roll 48-6 over Grill Valley. We did get the Elmwood Broomfield score in thanks to Terry Duckett. 61-29 winners over St. Teresa. Knoxville gets their first win of the year, 49 over LVC. That was 49-18. Macomb still unbeaten, 48-22 winners over West Hancock. And Illini West gets their first win of the year, 40-20, I think, over South Fulton.
All right, Mitch.
I was curious, has anybody seen Farmington play in person?
I have not. I need to. I want to.
I've seen highlights.
And it's interesting to me because the non-conference game with Decatur St. Teresa, because they've had some pretty proud tradition. Now I don't know what they are now.
Not recently.
Not as good.
Yeah, but it's always interesting though when you step out of the league and play.
Yep.
That type of program in a different part of the state, geography wise, I think is pretty important, and that's telling for me. But then you always wonder, when the playoffs roll around and people look at strength of schedule, and we can get into that dumb debate however we want to, and then you're 9-0 and you're playing a 6-3 or a 5-4 out of a league.
Yep.
That is more of a 2A, 3A league, because then what is Macomb? They 4A, right?
Yes.
So, I mean, then you are looking at a totally different animal going into the postseason where you potentially could be 9-0 like Macomb and play a 5-4 team out of whatever powerhouse suburban Chicago conference.
That happened, 2 years ago? Macomb was undefeated. I think they won their first round game, and then I think they got beat their second round, I think.
Yeah, that sounds right. What I'll say about Farmington is, what we've seen over the last, what's it been now? Like 5-6 years, where they've been consistently good at a high level. This year in particular, Lane Wheelwright's the real deal. I mean, at quarterback, he's a true dual threat and can beat you either way. And with the experience they have on top of that, it's incredible. I mean, we said they had what, Mitch? Go help me out. I think they had like 9 returning on offense and 10 returning
It was like
on defense.
it was 9. Yeah, it was 9 and 10.
Like they almost brought back their whole team from a team that was very good a year ago.
Now, when do they play Macomb? Do you know?
they will.
Yes,
Absolutely.
Week 7.
Okay.
Yep. That seems like the matchup there.
Sorry, week 6.
And they'll play Elmwood Brimfield here soon too.
That's week 7. So so we'll learn a lot about Macomb in weeks 6 and 7, playing those two back to back.
Yep, absolutely. All right, Mitch, what else did we see in the LLC here?
If you go to the small side, Stark County continues to win. They won over Havana 33-13. Rushville Industry beat A-Town 40-32. Annawan Weathersfield gets back on track. I'm not sure if they're fully healthy now, but they win 42-8. Certainly seems like they are. And the continued surprise of the year, Princeville remains unbeaten. They beat Roval Williamsfield 26-14.
Wow. Yeah. Did you track that game? That's a nice win for Princeville.
No, I have nothing on that one. It was tight for a while. And then I think Princeville added one late. I think it got to 2014 in the fourth quarter, but then Princeville added another one. But yeah, they're undefeated, along with Stark County there.
All right. We'll take a quick pause from the LLC. Matt Randazzo, you're on the line. Are you there?
Oh, I hope he's in his car again.
Hold on, don't mind me.
He is in his car.
I'm
You can
good.
tell.
There we go.
100. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
I think it's great that both Taylors are with us. Are you kidding me? Look at that picture. Look at them. It's just, I feel like it's Father's Day or something, or like it's a Hallmark card.
Why can't we see your face though?
Oh, well, you don't need to see that. Trust me. I keep the camera off for obvious reasons. So, hi, fellas. Hi,
Hello.
Mitch. I wanted to say hi to Mitch. Good to see you, buddy.
Dazzo.
Yeah, good to see you guys.
Can I make one brag today?
Oh boy. Yeah.
Yep.
So basically, if Brett Bielema said he would love one person in the media or one media outlet, today he would say, I love WRMJ the best because my alma mater high school was on WRMJ.com, followed by the college football team I coach was on WRMJ.
Wow.
There you go.
That's really good. I gotta do a little Illini boast because I do a golf outing every summer for my dad, a memorial golf outing. And a few years ago we started the Illini Hawkeye Challenge. Like Logan Lee would bring 4 Hawkeyes, and Matthew Bailey brought 4 Illini players. And we got like a fuel this year since Logan is in the NFL. Rusty Van Wetzinga did the Iowa guys, and then Cole Rusk stepped up this year and did the Illini guys. And like it was great because like the day of, I'm like texting him like, hey, just let me know who's coming so I can put names down. And he's like, this guy, Luke Altmaier, and then him. I'm like, hold on, you're bringing QB1, and he's like, yeah. So Altmaier showed up, really good golfer. They actually won it with Kuffler's group. They tied, and then it went back to tiebreaker, and Kuffler always wins. So like their group won. But it just goes to show that if you golf at my dad's golf outing, great things will happen. So
can I ask you a question, Matt Randazzo?
Yes,
how many times have you said that? That's like
I want to ask him about the future in the Western Big Six. I'm just curious because it's like 11:56.
Yeah, and can I say something before? They already told you not to do this, so why are you still doing it?
No, I just what do you think the future of Alleman is, conference affiliation wise? I'm just curious.
Oh boy.
How about
I think
sorry, go ahead.
It's a loaded question. I mean, I think they stay in the Western Big Six because I don't think anybody else wants it.
Right.
And I don't mean that in a negative way.
No,
I
know
that like when if Alleman, I like to think when Alleman gets back on track, like, I mean, they're not going to, they do really well in the conferences that they're looking to go to now. So it makes sense that they don't want to add them. And then right now it makes sense that Alleman wants to get out of the Western Big Six. They're up to 45 players in the program this year, but like 22 of them are freshmen. So, and like the 7th grade group, the 8th grade group are really good, really strong, good numbers, successful. So it's just going to take time. And then the thing is, once you jump back into the pool, you're jumping back into the, like, I look at like Riverdale and I love Guy Derricks. I mean, love Guy Derricks. When you jump back in the pool and you play in the Three Rivers, and I love the Three Rivers, it's easier to do than to jump back in the pool. And Alaman's still, under 300 kids probably in the school. I don't know what Murco is. I don't know what Rock Ridge is, but I think Alaman's probably, I think somebody told me last year, Alaman would have been the smallest team in the Three Rivers enrollment wise. So it's good. When you're ready to go, you got to come back and play Rock Island and Moline and Quincy. So, but they're getting there, and Jeff Schmalbach's doing a great job. I mean, I love his attitude. I love what he's doing. It's just, and I don't mince words. It was 18 months where 3 horrible people came into the building and tried to rip it down. And luckily they were run off. And I mean, that's what happened. And luckily they were escorted out, and they're trying to right the ship and all those kind of things. So, and it's tough in football. I mean, the other sports have come back pretty well. Boys basketball is still a struggle, but and since the days of some guy that's on the microphone right there, it's been that long since they've had elite athletes in the building like you, right, Jim? So,
and the only thing I'll add is why I'm sad about it. And I'm serious sincerely when I say this. They would be playing, in my opinion, and this is an Alleman class of 1985 grad saying this, if they were not in the Western Big Six, they would be playing varsity football this year.
Yes.
I argue that. And that's what makes me sad. And I will argue, I think they are a perfect fit, and people are going to lose their absolute mind, but they're not going to be the Alleman High School of an enrollment of 890 kids like they had in the 80s, at the height of the 80s.
Yeah.
They're going to be 400 tops.
You got to remember those 400 and 420 enrollment teams in 2010, 2012. I mean, even up to 2019, the COVID year, they went 4-2. I mean, that's what the enrollment was those days. And they finished second in state to Rochester because Rochester beat everybody because they don't recruit at all. But whole different subject. So, but yeah. So I mean, I don't think. I mean, and you go back to the glory days, but they're not far removed. And I say that, and then I realize that it's 2024, so it's not like yesterday. But 2012, they were second in the state. 2010, they were second in the state. 2019, they went 4. I mean, it's not far removed. So I think they can compete with 400 or 500 kids because they've done it for, I mean, my graduating class in 2019, geez, in 1997, I'm a 97 alum. We were probably 450. And I mean, we competed in the Western Big Six and all that kind of stuff. The tough part is, it'd be nice to get out of the Western Big Six for football and stay in the other ones. The Western Big Six ain't gonna allow that. So it makes it just hard, because if you're right, I will go and say that the year that Charles Jugasol played at Alleman, his senior year, so that was 2 years ago, probably the last time they had a varsity team. They finished 1-8. If they played in the Three Rivers that year, they would have been a playoff team.
Yeah,
they won it. They would have been. They would have beaten. And I can go through the now. Mind you, that year I remember, like, Princeton was amazing. Rock Ridge was really good. Probably weren't beating Newman, but I can give you 5 or 6 others, and it depends what their schedule was. I get all that kind of stuff, but I mean, they weren't that. But they would hang with Rocky for a half, or they'd hang with somebody for a half, and then they'd lose in the second half because they wore down. So yeah. Well, I'm glad I could hop on and talk about the old alma mater. I appreciate it, Jim.
All right. How about this? I promise, in the off season.
Just kidding. I'm kidding. I didn't hit a deer.
Oh, jeez. In the off season, we'll do a whole episode about Alleman coming back to 11-man football, about Alleman coming back to a varsity schedule. We'll get Jeff Schmalbach on. We'll interview him. We'll do a panel discussion afterwards. Jim Taylor, if you're in,
he's
we're
in. Yeah, of course he's in.
All right.
Talk to my agent.
All right. I'll figure it out.
I'll be in. Of course, I'll be in.
All right. You got to clear it with Mitch to make sure you're getting beyond.
Is that okay, Mitch? Does he fall asleep?
I think we'd have to set similar rules to the 24 hours of Daytona to make sure that we have adequate time for this panel to have this discussion.
Oh,
But
yeah,
as
no
long as you
kidding.
guys are cool with as long as you guys are cool with limiting it to 24 hours, I think we can do it.
Dude, it's a telethon. I'm in. We'll raise money for the old alma mater. We'll get Father Mirabelli on, right?
Yeah,
Yep.
that's right, man.
All right, Mitch, did we get everything out of the LLC? I think we did.
I think so. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's good enough.
All right. All right. The Northwest Upstate Illini, what do we got here?
All right. Lee Win defeats Dakota 50-0. Stockton continues to impress, 38-20 winners over Fulton. Dupec beats Morrison 30-0. Galena defeats Fenimore from Wisconsin 29-19. And probably game of the night in the conference, EPC defeats Forreston 36-16.
Wow.
So what's Forreston's record now?
Are they 1-3?
1-3.
Wow.
EPC is 3-1.
3-1 now. Yeah. Okay. All right.
Yeah, and so Stockton is 2-2. Those two teams play next week. So those two teams have probably been the most surprising, and rising up in the rankings as maybe Fulton and Forreston and Morrison kind of fall. But EPC and Stockton play next week, so I think we'll learn really who is going to be sitting third place in the conference behind Lewin and Dupec.
Yeah, and that game is at Stockton. Great venue to watch high school football, by the way.
Yep.
So that's a great one. What did Morrison do tonight? You said
Dupec won that one 30-0.
Okay. So yeah, that's tough start for Morrison, a team we were really excited about, now sitting at 1-3. There's still some games in there, but they got a tough stretch to end it. It's just this conference is such an unknown.
Yeah, I mean they've got Lee Win and Dupec in the rearview mirror now, though. So maybe the easier part of their schedule remains. Bounce back game against Forreston next week for both of those teams. So, and then Dakota after that. So yeah, Morrison's got a couple in them, and maybe can get into that 4-win range, maybe 5 wins now that Lee Win and Dupec are behind them.
So what other games here? Galena got the win against Fenimore. We didn't know much about that one, but they're now sitting at 3-1.
Yep.
Stock, you got something to say here? I feel like you're.
Yeah, you had me muted forever. As I was in the land of the lost.
I'm sure that was an accident.
Yeah, Galena, this is their first 3-game win streak since 2020.
Okay, there you go. Good stat. Tie.
And EPC was led tonight by Adam Adawan.
Allender.
Allender, yeah, he had 4 touchdowns.
Yep. Ty, what
He's
do you
had
got?
a good season.
I just was gonna stop. I just am always in awe with stocking. Like, how do you keep track of all these different statistics? And they're always so random.
There it is.
There it is. Oh my gosh.
So we're looking at, for the people listening, we're looking at notebooks, wire notebooks,
Hey, and then
and note cards. The old note cards.
Stocking, he sent me 2 messages on Twitter tonight during the Mercer County Riverdale game. One of them said that he'll be listening to WRMJ as always, and a special treat with his alma mater on the radio. He then, 20 minutes later, told me that this is Riverdale's first trip to Alito since 1997.
There you go. Stock, I keep muting you because you got people talking in the background, man. You got, you're in a party. You're at a party.
Yeah.
Well, at WQAD, it's a party atmosphere, but it's Riverdale. The last trip was in '97, and I figured Ty knew it because I even said, I think you probably know this. So, but I wanted to make sure he knew.
There you go. Awesome.
Helping him out.
Yep.
We got some 8-man scores to wrap us up, Mitch.
Yep. Milledgeville continues to score all the points, 76-6 over Rockford Christian Life.
Did they have 76 points at half?
Yeah, 76 nothing.
So they're pushing 300 on the season, 4 games in.
Wow.
Polo defeats Ashton Franklin Center 50-0. weird one with Orangeville and River Ridge. I think they played basketball. It was 82-58.
The game just
and then
got
West
over.
Carroll.
Yeah.
I believe West Carroll came back to win. They beat Alden Hebron 28-26. So West Carroll remains unbeaten.
That's a great story. Like, to go through the struggles they went through, an 11-man in the NUIC, obviously a very tough conference, to go into 8-man now and to get some wins, get some positive momentum. I think they got some tough games down the way.
They've got Milledgeville next week.
Okay, that's interesting. There you go. So they'll be tested on that one for sure.
Tell you,
All
week
right.
week five is packed.
Yeah, what games you mentioned earlier? What games you've seen?
Good.
Stock, I can't unmute you because there's too much happening, man. Stock, if you're gonna be
like a grain silo. It's crazy.
You've got Newman Rock Ridge next week.
Yep.
You've got
I'll be there.
Princeton, Monmouth, Roseville next week. You've got I can't remember what the one was in the LLC. You've got Stockton, EPC, and the NUIC, and then you've got Milledgeville and West Carroll.
What do you got,
What's up, Ty?
I was just gonna say I have another 8-man score.
Yes.
So West Central beat Galva 56-20. And I'm going to say a few things about this game. One, I know you guys have talked about it too. West Central's 5 straight road games to start the season is crazy. The thing that's even crazier to me is this is the second time these teams have played and both have been at Galva. How in the world does that work?
That does not make sense.
We were joking about that in our pregame tonight when we were talking about the other games around the area. It's like, who did Kirby make mad in the 8-man association? Good Lord.
he had to go to Galva twice. So there you go.
The executive director of the 8-man football association said, "Hey, Jason Kirby," and he's like, "Yeah." He's like,
Yeah.
"You're gonna shut up and listen."
Yeah. So I'm
He
guessing.
said that to me on the air one time. That's why I'm referencing that, right?
Yeah.
You want me to tell you that story or not?
You told it last time. You literally told that last
I
time
did?
we did this last year.
Do you remember that
So-
story or not?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
So Mitch, I'm guessing West Central has some games coming up too. They're going to test them.
I'm sure they do. I don't have their schedule pulled up.
Okay. Well, that's fine. They're going to be home games though. They're going to be
But
home
how
games.
does it? Yeah, but I'm saying, how does that work? Though?
Yeah, I don't know how that works.
I mean, that is, and then they played Galva twice already.
and on the
Yeah.
road twice. Yeah, in the span of 4
Yeah.
weeks, they've played there
And
twice.
one's a conference game and one's not. So, but yeah, or a division.
So
game,
then,
I
yeah,
guess.
that is
So,
next year.
Mitch,
Are they home 5 straight and then away for 4 straight?
Yeah,
It's like the Chicago Stadium Circus trip back in the
Yeah.
1980s.
that's right.
Way Brian Stocking. But so is Amboy the heavy favorite again this year? Or
Yeah, Amboy and now Milledgeville.
Amboy goes to West Central in week 8.
That'll be a test. Yep.
And I think with West Central, I think there's maybe they're renovating their track or their stadium.
That would make sense.
That has to be that's the only other reason I could think of, unless Jason Kirby really got someone upset
Well, we need
But-
to do some research and figure that out because it's a
But I-
unique schedule.
we need to
And
get him
this
on
is not-
view from the
It's unusual that they're playing at Galva twice, but this is not unusual for teams to do this. The Jim Taylor will remember this in the Olympic,
I
in the
mean,
old days of the Olympic.
I still
When
call it the
had
Olympic.
6 teams. They would always have a non-conference game, and a conference game later in the season. Moline and Rocky did that back-to-back years of 91, 92.
yeah,
that-
that was when the Olympic conference was 6 teams, right? Or no,
6,
8
yeah.
I mean,
Back in the 80s, like Rockridge would play Orion twice, Sherrard would play
Yep.
Orion twice. I mean, never
I
at the same
still,
place twice.
I would say I think saying it's not unusual might be a bit of an exaggeration because you really see that, I feel like, but
Well, that's crazy. They played them twice in 4 weeks and both on
yeah,
the road.
that's very funny to me.
So it would be
Yeah,
like
so-
Jason Kirby did make
Yeah.
somebody mad.
All right, Dazzo, you're home, but are you awake?
No, I made it. It's Stock. If you look at my desk, there's a microphone. And if you plug it into your computer, like you can be heard much better. So you don't have to put your nose so close to the screen.
Yeah, but
But hey, I made
We're
it home.
lucky.
I didn't hit a deer. One almost got me, but I swerved. I just wanted to listen. I just wanted to listen to the conversation, but I did. This is my college football viewing tomorrow.
I know. I've seen your setup. It's amazing.
Wow.
Yeah,
Yep.
that boys.
Yep. I love
Beautiful.
Huh?
I love it.
Well, I actually might start watching TV now. All the kids are
Hey,
sleeping.
are you inviting Stocking over to watch games?
Yeah.
tomorrow?
Stock, you're always welcome out to the house. The kids love it when Uncle Stockpile come over.
I've never been invited.
Oh man. All right.
So we
Is
do
it,
our finals. Are you going to do the final thoughts?
I know.
thing?
Is it time for Mitch? What do you got?
Let me give you two quick ones from around the state. Quincy Notre Dame beat Sacred Heart Griffin tonight,
Oh,
37-7.
Whoa.
Oh my gosh.
And they're
Right.
in Quincy Notre Dame's Class 2A, right?
Yeah.
They're going to be
So
south or north, you think?
I don't know. We'll say,
I don't know.
I
That's a
think they're
big-
I
that's
think
a
they're
big
I think they're
storyline.
I think they're in this. I think they were in the South last year. I think.
That sounds
I could
right.
be wrong.
Wow, that's a state win.
wow.
And then I think they're tied for first in 1A. Altoff. They played Tolono Unity tonight, which Tolono Unity is like a 3A school. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, they're 2A or
Altoff's-
3, and they're pretty good.
3A.
Yeah, I think they're 3. Altoff scored with less than a minute left, and then got the game-winning extra 2-point extra point to win 53-52.
Holy.
Wow.
So yeah, Altoff is kind of all roads are kind of leading to them. Obviously, they lost last year to Camp Point, and they would have to face them again, I'm sure. But they beat Tolono Unity tonight.
Yeah. Sorry, Stocking. I'm distracted because
I think
Bobby Metcalf in the background looks like he's about to rob a bank. So
He
need
does.
some money somehow.
anyway,
Don't pay me
the,
anything at WQAD.
the listeners can't hear, can't see it. They can only hear it, but
It would be
we're
better. if they
off the
could-
rails.
It'd be better if they could see it, because my favorite thing about doing this is like just watching whatever is going on in the background with Stocking, and then like Randazzo said, when he's like his nose is like touching the computer screen. I love that too.
And Corey Kuffler's here too.
This might be
but-
the biggest podcast you've ever had.
There are no rules on the Instant Reax podcast. We just let it go.
Let's circle back to get Dazzo's quick thoughts on Western Big Six tonight.
Yeah, here we go. Yeah. What'd you think about Quincy tonight and UT? And give me your thoughts.
Quincy's really good. That's not a earth-shattering statement. I think Moline will be fine. UT's the team that, boy, they're like 3 points away from being 4-0, and
Yep.
they're young. I'm biased. I really like Coach Welch. I think he does a fantastic job. So I'm intrigued to see how they develop, if they can get to 5-6 wins and get in. But boy, that statement victory from Quincy, it's kind of Quincy and everybody else. Moline Rocky next week. Rock Island 0-4. I mean, it's still a great rivalry game and all that kind of stuff. But this was the second year that Rock Island started 0-4. They started 0-5 last year. They righted the ship last year and won 3 of the last 4. We'll see if they can start righting the ship next week against Moline. So, yeah, and Alman didn't lose tonight, so that's always a good thing in the Western Big Six.
There you go. There you go.
And Nick
Well,
Welch
Rochester
played
did
in
lose, Dazzo, if that
Dazzo's
interests you.
tournament.
Hey, Rochester lost, and everybody's a winner.
But here's the thing: Nick Welch played in Dazzo's golf tournament this year, also.
Yeah.
Telling you, if you
Yep.
guys want good things to happen, you get a little Guy Randazzo mojo going for you, good things happen.
Noted. All right. Mitch, do you have final thoughts?
No, I think the Quincy game went as we expected. I did think they were going to win that game, but I like I said earlier, I think week 5 is going to determine a lot of divisions here. And so for as much as that we learned or saw this week, I think next week is really across every conference that we cover. There's a marquee game that I think will determine who wins the conference.
Yep. The Taylors in Aledo right now. What's going on in downtown Aledo? What's happening behind you?
Not much. Give a couple of walkers. A little kid. I can't stress that enough. A little kid on a bike just went by, and it's like 12:17 a.m. So I don't know where
He's going to the
going
Mercer
or
Carnegie
where
Library.
he's supposed to be. There goes a cop just now. Maybe I don't know, but Not much is going on in Alito. What's your final thought tonight, Dad? You go first.
All right.
It can't be the designated hitter.
Right. Can't be that. Can't be Alleman. Can't be anything about Riverdale.
I was
either.
going to say, remember in the 80s when Whitey Herzog would play Todd Worrell in right field and then Ken
Just-
Daly would come in. But anyway, the question I asked Sam Graves tonight is Newman going to run the wishbone or are they going to spread the ball out? So last week in the second half, they went wishbone
Yeah.
and extended the lead and ran roughshod over the Erie Provincetown Panthers. That was a 14-7 game. So I'm curious to see what their style of play is. Now, Coach Graves said he thinks he'll see a little bit of both, but Newman football for me will always be wishbone double tight. You have to stop us. Now, they showed that last week, enrolled to a victory. I think Orion got a couple of long passes against them probably tonight.
The
14,
kickoff return in a long
Okay,
pass.
yeah. So I'm looking forward to seeing the complexion of that game next week. And I'm interested to see if we're going to see Newman brand of football. And by Newman brand of football, they're going to go wishbone double tight for a majority of the game.
Yeah. I was really
For
surprised to
50
hear they threw 4 touchdown passes tonight.
For $50, Jim, I'll text Coach LeMay and get you that information.
Okay. Thank you.
All right,
Do you
Ty.
have, do you have the station credit card number or not?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll take it. Yeah,
I actually do have
accept
it.
that.
I have it on my phone. I do, but
Are we going to do, can I say something? One other thing. What time is it right now?
it's 12, like 20, 19.
Are we ever going to do the summer thing?
Yeah, next summer.
No, I want
But
to ask though. Are
He-
we
he-
gonna?
we will, yeah.
But I want to get a bunch of people like
Yeah.
before, like
You
Dave
did.
Maningay,
you-
Nesto,
Stop,
Yeah.
stocking. Yeah, you did this
Stocking,
last year
Jew.
too. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
because I thought when you said celebrity coming on tonight, I thought you meant Dan Pearson, but you said like Class B celebrity and
Right.
Matt Randazzo. I was hoping
Oh,
Dan Pearson,
oh.
not.
I
Um,
love that. If Dan Pearson's the guy, I'll take a B.
Are we
Yeah.
gonna do that next summer or not?
We got to do it. We got to
Okay.
do it.
to kind of just go off of what my dad said, I think next week, I mean, and Mitch said it too, like Newman, Rock Ridge is exciting. I think Monmouth, Roseville, Princeton's exciting too. So I think, it's just the 5th week of the year, but I feel like those are kind of the games that'll determine who wins both sides of the track. And I guess I kind of have a question for Randazzo too, is because I know last time we were all on here, Stocking said that if you were, 0-1 and you were going to be playing in week 2, you're going to feel desperate. So what do you think? Are teams that are 1-3 desperate next week?
Now we're getting a little closer. We're getting a little closer to that. Now, 3 weeks later, we can now talk about desperation, not in August 31st or whatever it was. So
we
But
need a little doom and gloom in the pod. Come on.
did you guys mention earlier Monmouth Roseville's the 4-0 for the first time in school history?
Yeah, we talked about them being
I think they were 3-0 for the first time in school history. So yeah,
Yep.
certainly that just
Now
keeps on going.
but you're talking about consolidation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because
Yes.
Warren Dobry and the midline veer in the 1980s, they ran roughshod over everybody in the old Olympic conference. That was like must see.
I just want to listen to Jim and Stockpile talk about.
Yes. We
Yeah.
need a Jim Taylor, Brian
John
Stocking
Hochstein.
podcast.
And
Yes.
We had that one time. I was on Sportsline right before COVID.
No, because
we need to get Stocking back.
So
to
I
Alito.
remember when I first started in Alito, people really got mad about this is how good like Monmouth was back in the day when Dobry was coaching down there. Is like people would really get offended and mad and take it personally. They would sound that horn off down at.
They still do it.
Yeah, but I mean,
Yeah.
they would just drill people and people would get so mad because they're getting, throttled and they're still playing the horn when it's like 42-0 in the fourth quarter with 3 minutes left to play. But I think next week too in the track though, I think Mercer County, Erie Provincetown is going to be a pretty interesting game because I think the final score tonight for me was deceiving. I think Erie Provincetown is still a pretty good team. They're playing without their top 2 players. They're pretty physical. I think that's still a pretty decent team out because I'll say tonight's game between Erie Provincetown and Rock Ridge was much closer
Right.
than
Yep,
last
This is
week's
like the
Riverdale.
5th time you've
Yeah,
said
but
that.
I'm just saying.
Yeah.
So I'm saying to next. Because from a Mercer County standpoint too, trying to get into the postseason, I think that's still a big game. Tonight was a big win for them in terms of getting toward 5 because they got the tough stretch.
Yeah.
And if Larson and Connor Keegan play, they didn't play tonight. I think next week's game is a pretty intriguing game.
Yeah.
For Mercer County is going to try and, win their fourth game in a row.
Right.
All right. My final thought also stays in the track. And it's that I think I'm making an early request. I want to go to Princeton, Monmouth, Roseville next week.
Done.
You already saw the writing on the wall. You knew that was the game I wanted.
I was curious when you want to go to Milledgeville.
Oh, I do want to do that too.
And I'm not saying next week. I don't even know. Hey, 1 week at a
It's the
time.
West Carroll game.
I gotta look and see. There's always a week. Well, hopefully, if there's a week when Milledgeville and then there's a game in Sterling, which I know there is a game in Sterling next week because Jim said he'll be there. Maybe, but man, I really want to see Monmouth, Roseville, and Princeton.
Is that at Monmouth Roseville?
Yeah. All right.
Yeah. I mean, yeah.
All right.
That's great.
And my
Can-
second.
Great. You can do whatever you want to
And
Greg does
United
whatever
is
he
home.
wants to do.
Oh, and United's homes. There you go. That works. All right.
There you
My second final thought is that it's been several years since I've seen Quincy live in person. I believe the last time I saw him, not Jarius Rice, but who's the running back that went to Iowa State?
Rock.
Jarrell Brock.
Jarrell Brock. There you go. I had the J. Jarrell Brock. So obviously very impressive running back then. To see this team up close and personal, man, it's fun. They're a fun team to watch. I was glad I got to see it. And hey, when I was walking the Quincy sideline, they recognized the view from the West Hat, and the players were all about it. So I love it. I loved it. That's fun. So, all right, Stock. I never know where you're going here. Final thoughts.
Milledgeville has scored 58 points or more in their last 5 regular season games.
There you go.
And United Township is 2-0 at home. The last time they start off the year 2-0 at home was 2001.
That is some stocking gold.
That's a statistic.
Who was the coach in 2001?
Oh, I think it was Tracy, maybe.
Was it?
Yeah.
Oh,
Hold,
But
well,
the thing
let's
is,
see.
it's all, UT is rebuilt, and Nick Welch has got them playing really well. And you saw a glimmer of it in 2020. And now the fruits of that are coming to harvest now.
No, the people kids were there in 2020 have nothing to do with what's going on in
I said
2024.
the glimmer of that.
It's
Okay.
the fruit of the harvest. Didn't you
I,
hear
I
that?
just- I don't think they have anything to do with each other, but that's fine.
All right,
When you
I gotta
start
look it up. I gotta see who
The
the head
harvest.
coach was.
It was Tracy.
Oh, all right. Not that I'm disappointed, Stock. I was hoping to get you, but you got me. And Stock, you got me last week on the Newman had beat Erie Provincetown 15 times in a row. I thought EP got one of them, but I remembered incorrectly, and you got me. So there you go. I bow down to you, sir. Job well done. All right, we all good? We're done.
I think so. I got nothing else to say.
All right. Are you guys just gonna pull out cots and sleep?
I'm gonna eat Chicken George in the Sterling press box next week. from
Yeah.
Kent.
So my St. Ambrose student Ryan Schistel was excited to go out and get some Chicken George in the press box tonight. So
Good for him.
yeah,
I'm
awesome.
I'm mad that Mercer County's playing them at home. I wish they were on the road, but
Yeah, absolutely.
okay, that's a whole other thing. So thanks for having us, man. I had a great time.
I love it. I'll be listening tomorrow morning on my way to a 8th grade football game. So
All right.
we love it. All right, boys. Mitch, we'll talk to you in a couple days. Dazzo, thank you. I'll
Yep.
talk to you this week about where I'm going. Stock, I'll see you back in the command module next week at WQAD.
Absolutely.
All right, boys. Thank you. We'll see you.
Yeah.
Good night.
See ya.